In this Algebra 1 lesson, we're in Chapter 4, Lesson 2, writing equations in slope-intercept form, and that's y equals mx plus b. I will point out, some of you may have noticed, we've gone out of order, and that was on purpose. I purposely showed you how to do point-slope form first, because that's going to be the technique we're going to use for any linear equation. We're going to start with point-slope form, and we're going to turn that into everything else. So I did it out of order on purpose so I could teach you one way that always works so you can feel confident. And for more help on how to convert from point-slope form to standard form or point-slope form to slope-intercept form, check out the 4-3 video on writing equations in point-slope form. That's the one you want to check out. And if you need more details on what slope-intercept form is, check out the 4-1 video that spends more time talking about what slope-intercept form is, meaning what do each of these pieces mean, most importantly the m and the b. Alright, so our objective is, as the student, I can write an equation of a line given the slope and a point, and I can still do that when just given 2 points. All because I will start with point-slope form, and then I'll turn to whatever I need. And in this section, what you need is going to be slope-intercept form each time. Now, this slide should look familiar. I exactly copy and pasted this entire thing, but because these steps I gave you still apply. It's still what we're going to do. Here's what you can do for any question. Step 1 is going to be, find your slope if you do not know it already. And so, as a reminder, I'm going to write the slope formula. You should probably write this down again because you should be able to memorize it. Okay, so there's your slope formula. So step 1 is find the slope if you do not know it already. Okay, that's step 1. Step 2, once you find the slope, you're going to take it and you're going to plug the slope and one of your points in to the point-slope form. Once you plug those in, you're in point-slope form. Now from there, just convert it to whatever format you want. And for lots of practice on how to convert from point-slope form to the different formats, especially slope-intercept form, check out the 4-3 video that does that. We'll do a little bit in this one as well, though. Okay, now this is new. This I want to make sure I want to give you confidence with. There are only 3 possible scenarios for every linear equation. These are the only 3 possible ways they can offer you these questions. And sometimes it'll be in a word problem. You got to pick out who's your input, who's your output, what is your rate of change, and your rate of change is your slope. So, I mean, sometimes working with a word problem, you've got to pick out these pieces. But in general, there's only 3 types of questions. Those types of questions are, by the way, these are listed from hardest to easiest. The hardest type of question is when you're only given 2 points. And when that happens, you're going to do literally every step that I had on this page. If you're only given 2 points, you're going to first find slope. Now, once you find that slope, it's now going to be just like number 2. It's going to be a type 2 question, okay? So once you find slope, it's going to be a type 2 question, meaning you'll have a point. Well, because look, you'll have 2 points. You'll just pick one. So I'm going to say pick 1 point. It doesn't matter which one. You can pick any one of them you want. Pick 1 point. As long as you pick a point the line goes through, it does not matter which point you choose. So once you've picked a point and you have your slope, it is now just like it's a type 2 question now, meaning you're going to plug in your point and slope. So plug in point and slope. So notice each of these types becomes one of the easier versions with each step. So number 1, you first find the slope using that slope formula we just wrote down, okay? And then pick one of the points to use. And then from that step, you're going to plug in the point and a slope because once you've done this step, it's now become a type 2 situation. So it helps us if we can identify questions, what types they are, so that we can feel confident because we know how to handle all of them. Anyways, once you do that, you will then finally finish by converting it to the desired form. You will convert to slope-intercept form. Because remember, you started with point-slope form. Convert to slope-intercept form. And that's because you started with point-slope form. Remember, that's how we start all of these. We start all by putting them into that form. Okay, and then the type 3 question is the easiest. That one I don't even think we're going to do any examples of in this video. That was in the 4-1 video, was if you're already given the slope and y-intercept, you literally just plug them in. So, fast example, this is the only one we'll do. If you're told that the slope is 4 and you're told the y-intercept is 3, that means your equation is, let me fix that. It means your equation is y equals 4x plus 3. Simple as that. Plug in the slope, plug in the y-intercept. So those are the easiest. So we're not going to do any of those. We're mostly going to focus on type 1 and type 2 questions. So let's do an example. Alright, so in this example, you'll see you have to decide for yourself. First, what type of question is this? You'll see, okay, we're given a point, and we're given slope. Okay, we're not given slope. Alright, so if we're just given 2 points, that's a type 1 question. We're only given 2 points. And step 1, which was the steps I gave you, were the overall steps, you're going to use these steps for type 1, is you're going to first have to find the slope. So start by finding the slope. I'm going to remind you of the slope formula first. So for finding the slope, remember the video on slope from last chapter. I believe that was in chapter 3. I think it was 3-3 is where we learned about slope and rates of change. Now, there's a video on that if you need more help doing that. It helps if you identify which one of these points is x1, y1, meaning the one furthest to the left. But that's not mandatory. It just helps. It's not the end of the world. But I'm going to go ahead and do it anyways that I have it. So this one is furthest to the left because 2 is further to the left than 4. Therefore, 2 is x1. So that makes 3y1. That makes 4x2. Now let's make those other ones. Okay, so that makes that y2, and this makes this one y1. All right, anyways, once we know those, let's plug those into the slope formula. Then we'll have our slope. And you end up with a slope of -3. So now we know our slope. Now that we know our slope, you then just choose one of these points. It does not matter which one you choose. Choose one of them. Personally, I think it's honestly easier to choose one that has no negatives, less things to have to worry about. So I'm going to pick this one, not just because it says x1, y1. But technically, we know point slope form has x1, y1. That's not why I'm choosing it, but I just happen to choose it because it's all positive. It's less work. All right, so here's a reminder of point slope form. So now let's just plug everything in. Remember that all point slope form questions are going to start with the same shell. Now just plug everything in. I said we are choosing this point right here. So since we're choosing that point, that's what we're going to use. So 3 is y1 and 2 is x1. Okay, put those in their spots. And m is the slope, and our slope ended up being -3. So here you go. You plugged it all in. So now you have the equation in point slope form, but this whole section is about writing things in slope-intercept form. So take a moment to convert this to slope-intercept form using the same steps we learned in the last video, in 4-3 video. The first step we learned was to distribute. We said distribute. And then we said after that you're going to move y1 over here because then you'll have y by itself. So step 1 was distribute. Step 2 is move y1 to the other side. That's what I'm going to do now. Make sure you just distribute correctly. A negative times a negative is a positive. That's why that's a plus sign. Don't make that mistake. Now finish by moving that -3 to the other side and you're done. Alright, and so you have your final answer once you combine all like terms on that side. So you have y equals -3x plus 9. That is the equation of the line in slope-intercept form that passes through the two given points. So this was a type 1 question. This was your hardest type of question. Now you're going to try one. Alright, you try this one. Hit pause, give this one a shot. I want you to do it now. As a reminder, here's your point slope form format, and here's your slope format. And now hopefully you can tell this is a type 1 question. You're just given 2 points, so do your thing. So it doesn't matter if you name these backwards as long as you give them a name. Because remember with slope, as long as you're careful of the negatives, it'll still work. Remember how to minus and negative for the x's on the bottom. Now simplify. So if you finish simplifying, you end up with a slope of -4. Now take that slope and take one of your points. Now I'm purposely going to choose a different point than x1, y1. I'm going to show you it doesn't matter which one you choose. So I'm going to do it with this one, but I promise you no matter which one of these you choose, it will still simplify down to the same answer for slope-intercept form. So I'm going to choose the one on the right. That's what I'm going to plug in. So get that done if you haven't done so already. Alright, plug in this point slope form. Now convert that to slope-intercept form and you're done. Now move that +8 out of there and you'll be all done. And you end up with your final answer. Y equals -4x plus 8. So this was a type 1 question, but once we found our slope for ourselves, it was now just like a type 2 question. So if you ever have a question where they just give you a point in the slope already, you're just going to put in point slope form straight into it, no slope needing to find, you already know it, and you're going to turn it right into it. So now I'm going to have you do 1, maybe 2 more examples, then we're going to be all done. Alright, so I went ahead and already gave you the tools you need, but these are the 2 points I want you to use. I want you to write the equation of the line in slope-intercept form that passes through these 2 points. So hit pause, give this one a shot. Oh no, by the way, you'll have fractions in your answer. Will you survive? Let's find out. Alright, since you don't know the slope yet, you got to start by finding the slope, and the slope ends up being -2/3. Now take that slope and take one of those points. It does not matter which one. They both will simplify into the same thing when you're doing slope-intercept form. It doesn't matter. So pick one of those points, now plug it in and turn it, and you're done. Alright, plug it into point slope form. Now you just need to do the distributive property. And yes, you're going to have to use your fraction skills to help you do that. And by the way, I chose x1, y1. You could have chose x2, y2. It doesn't make a difference. Choose any point. So let's distribute. First one's easy. Now for the second one, a negative times a positive, well, that's going to be a negative, so minus sign. So let's take a moment to figure out what is 2/3 times 7. 2/3 times 7, put 7 over 1. Now multiply it normally straight across. you get 14 over 3, but that's also known as 4 2/3. So either of these are acceptable versions, but I like to see your y-intercept as a mixed number, so it's more easily to be interpreted. But at this step, I would be cautious and I would leave it like this until you know for sure if you're going to have to move something. So we're going to leave it as 14 over 3 for now. So 14 over 3. And now drop down your y minus 0. Now, you're left with, you got to get y by itself, and you get rid of minus 0, and you'll see, oh, adding 0 to both sides, well, that's not going to do anything, so don't bother. So that is your final answer. So y equals negative 2/3 x. Now I'm going to go ahead and write that as the mixed number version, so negative 4 2/3. And that's your final answer in slope-intercept form of the equation of the line that passes through these 2 points. I'm going to give you one final question, but just to make sure we don't ignore it, I'm going to make it a type 2 question. I'm going to give you the slope and the point, and I want you to turn it to slope-intercept form. Alright, so here's your final example. I want you to give it a shot. It's a type 2 question because you already know the slope. So go ahead and try this one out. And then hit pause, and I'm going to go ahead and just show the answers and the steps. Now it's all easy to the very end. For your y-intercept, take your time. You're going to cross 0. You're going to go from a positive number to a negative answer. So take a moment to make these common denominators and do this right. Phrase your final answer as a mixed number since it's the y-intercept. Convert to common denominators first. Now go ahead. And so you end up with negative 3.5. So I already put the minus sign because we knew it was going to be negative, so just add the 3.5. Now you're all done. You now have the equation of the line that passes through that point and has the given slope. You're done. Good job, guys. Make sure you practice, make sure you identify what type of question it is, and then you're ready to go. Take care, and then we'll take this to the next level in class. We'll talk about a little bit about linear extrapolation, which is essentially predicting with linear equations. Take care.